Jason is the one who deals with dispatch, talks to them on the phone, decides on accepting loads or not taking loads. And the reason that we do it that way is Jason was a dispatcher in his previous job. He has a lot more experience with that than I did getting into this. Now, I have learned along the way, but I just feel more comfortable letting him do it. He likes to do it. He likes to talk to them and deal with them and negotiate with them. So that's how we do it. Another thing is when you're a team on a truck, there's always going to be a primary driver, whether you're a husband and wife or, you know, two guys on a truck, two women on a truck, or a man and a woman that aren't married. There's always going to be a primary driver that the carrier recognizes or is listed for your truck. So on our truck, Jason is listed as the primary driver. So his phone number is the primary phone number that they call. Now, they do have my phone number, but 9 times out of 10, they're going to call Jason's phone for if they need to call us for anything, whether it be a load or they need to tell us something or they have a question. So they will, sometimes if they can't get Jason, say he's sleeping and he doesn't answer his phone, they will call my phone, but it's very rare. So that's another reason why he deals with them the majority of the time versus me. Now, if he's sleeping and they call, then I will talk to them and deal with them. And there's even been times when Jason's sleeping, I'm at a delivery or pickup, and I have a question and I have to call dispatch on it, and they have to find something else and call back, and I'll even specifically tell them, call my phone, Jason's sleeping, and they'll still call Jason's phone. So that's a whole nother story. But yeah, so the first thing we want to talk about is dealing with dispatchers, and Jason wants to give you some tips on that. You know, a lot of you, when you get out here or are already out here, as you know, all of our loads, or the majority of the loads we get, come across the Qualcomm. So they send it over, and then you have the option after looking over that load to either accept or decline that load, or you can send them a message if you have questions. Now, a lot of people, I'm sure, they strictly go through the Qualcomm when accepting or declining loads. I'll say with us, I would say probably 98.5% of the time, every load that they send over, we talk to them on the phone before accepting or declining that load. Either they'll send it over, we'll look over it, and they'll call about it, or if they don't call, we'll call them. Or there's also times where they're just trying to get a load booked. They have a customer calling and they need to see if they have a driver that's willing to do that load. So they'll call before they even send the load over. So we deal with, or as I say, Jason deals with dispatch a lot. The majority of the time, the dispatchers are very pleasant, and you know, there's no conflicts or anything with this dispatchers, but there are some times where you may have a conflict or butt heads with a dispatcher. So Jason wants to kind of talk about that and give you some tips on handling those types of situations. You know, maybe they're having a bad day, you know, maybe you're having a bad day, you're the 5th person they called to try to get a run covered that they need to get covered, and you know, they've already talked to 4 other truck drivers, so they're, you know, they're panicking and getting frustrated. So Jason's going to talk a little bit about that now.
So like Heather said, I was a dispatcher before in my last job. I was at that company about 12 years. Out of that 12 years, I did dispatch full time, probably the last 7 years of it. And so I understand what dispatching is all about. I know it's a really, really stressful job. And, you know, most of the time drivers just think all they got to do is as soon as a job comes in, they got to dispatch a driver on it. And it's a lot more than that. In dispatch, you're constantly dealing with problems. You're not just dispatching out jobs. You're dealing with the problems that come along with those jobs: bad addresses, bad contacts, driver breakdowns. The list goes on. One of the main stresses I always found out with dispatch was I always had the management or the owner in my ear telling me, hey, we need to reduce costs. We need to stop paying drivers so much on the deadhead. We need to lower the deadhead that we're paying them. And then on the other side, I got drivers in my other ear telling me, hey, I need more runs. I'm sitting too much. I can't do that for this rate. You know, I'm going to need this amount of money to do this job. Or, you know, that job doesn't pay enough. I don't want to do it. Or so you got the drivers in one ear, your bosses in the other ear, you know, so you got this constant conflict that you're trying to balance as a dispatcher. And, you know, day in, day out, that starts to get really, really stressful. You know, you're trying to please everybody, and most of the time it just can't be done, you know. So when you're dealing with dispatch, you know, try to keep that in mind, that who knows what the stress they're getting put in for that day, you know. If they start to get an attitude with you, you know, try to keep that in mind. Now that doesn't mean that gives them a right to be a jerk, you know, and be rude to you. You know, some of these dispatchers really need to work on how they deal with drivers. But we wanted to just talk about our experience, you know, and I'm not perfect. I've gotten into some arguments with some dispatchers. I've hung up on them where I got so mad and I was just so pissed off that I just did not want to deal with them. There's times where I let it get to me too, but that's something I'm always working on, and I always try to keep in mind what are the stresses that they're having to deal with today. So it's probably about 90% of the time when you get a load offer, most of the time it normally makes sense, you know. You might have to negotiate a little bit more on the deadhead, depending on what they're wanting you to do, you know. But for the most part, most of the jobs make sense. Like Heather said, usually they'll send the job over the Qualcomm and then they'll call right away to discuss it. Most of the time that's because they have a deadline to meet on the pickup and they need to get a driver on that job pretty quickly or even find somebody that wants to do it. Other times they'll just send it and, you know, I'll glance at it real quick. And then I'll call them and say, hey, well, seems like quite a bit of deadhead on it. It's going to an airport. Is there any special instructions? You know, stuff like that. And I always like to call and communicate more. But then there's that 10% where you'll get that job that just makes absolutely no sense. One of our last load recap videos, we deadheaded 650 miles for a load that was only 590 miles. Now, our deadhead was more than the loaded miles, so, you know, I mean, typically that would not be a load that we would accept at all, you know, but they had absolutely no other options. And I always try to keep in mind, I always want to try to work with them on something, you know, even out of those 10% jobs that make absolutely no sense for us to do, I'll try to call them and see if we can make it work, you know. Can we get the numbers up to our lowest rate that we want to run for? Can they still make a little bit of money on it? Can our owner make money? Can we make money? You know, we try to keep all that in mind, but, you know, sometimes there's going to be that job that just will not work, but you always want to try to, you know, work with them on it, you know, try to come up with a solution to get that job covered. Now, I know I've had some problems with, you know, calling into dispatch and they just weren't very helpful. There's this one particular time they provided us with a phone number and they wanted us to call the contact when we arrived to the pickup. Well, I called that number that they provided and it wasn't a good number. It went to somebody who had no clue what we were talking about, never heard of Panther, didn't know anything about any pickups. So I called dispatch to ask for a proper number. I'd explained to him that that number was no good. And his response was, well, that's the number we got. So basically just whatever, you know, and of course that made me mad. It's like, well, what am I supposed to do? We need to find a proper number, or do I just go to the dock and just try to pick anything up? And, you know, sometimes you'll have those problems with dispatch. I know a lot of times, sometimes I'll just hang up and I'll call back and try to get a different dispatcher. Other times, you know, if you're just turning down a run for whatever the reason may be, whether you just don't want to do it or the numbers don't make sense, you're going to get a dispatcher that's going to be super rude. You know, there's going to come the time where he just gets so mad and he'll start to argue with you, and don't let him stress you out like that, you know. For me, I'm starting to get to the point where if they start to have an attitude, if they're having a bad day, fine. I'm not going to let that project down to me. I'll just hang up. If I don't like how the conversation's going and he's being rude and, you know, just real pushy with me, I'll just hang up. You know, I don't have to deal with that. I'm not going to let that stress me out, you know, out here on the road, because I mean, as drivers, we deal with a lot of stress also. So we just don't need somebody having a bad day making our day bad, you know. So, but you know, always try to keep in mind, you know, I mean, in expediting in general, it's a pretty stressful situation, you know. Most of the time it's time critical jobs that need to get covered. So many different people involved that, you know, information gets left out, doesn't get passed on to the driver. I mean, that's a constant thing in expediting. So the bottom line is, when you're talking to dispatch, you know, don't let their stress you out. Try to work with them, and if you can't, you know, don't let them stress you out. And if you get one of those dispatchers who just doesn't know how to control himself, just hang up, you know. If he starts getting rude with you, just go ahead and hang up.
Or ask to talk to somebody else.
Ask to talk to somebody else, yeah. But if that doesn't work, just hang up, you know. Don't escalate the situation by arguing like I've done before. Trust me, I am not perfect. I've let them push my button to where I ain't going to be treated like this, and I fought back, you know. But if fighting back doesn't help the situation, you know, it just escalates it, you know. If you get that one dispatcher who's just being super rude, just hang up. You know, if management calls you later and says, why did you hang up on their dispatcher, explain to them he was being rude. You weren't going to deal with that. If they, you know, you don't have to deal with that. Trust me. You know.
One thing with Panther, and I'm sure probably a bunch of other carriers, every call into Panther is recorded.
Right.
Every conversation we have with a dispatcher at Panther is recorded. So they can go back and listen to the phone records of how that conversation went if it ever came into a big issue.
Right. So that's the whole purpose. Just hang up. You know, if they're being rude and you're being cordial and all you do is hang up on them, that's a justified hang up if you ask me. You know, we don't have to put up with being treated bad out here on the road. And, you know, like I said, dispatchers don't come into work and say, I'm going to go out and treat some drivers like assholes today. Just like drivers, you know, we don't intend to be a pain in the butt. You know, stress piles up. You know, just try to keep in mind, we're here to do a job. You know, let's try to work together and, you know, make the best out of the situation. You know, try to work as a team together. Now, when you're negotiating rates, deadhead, any extra bonuses, stuff like that, there's a lot of different factors that come into play. Are you sitting in Laredo where there's 15 trucks and they're only doing 6 a day? Are you sitting in Atlanta where you're the only truck and they're doing 16 loads a day? Are you sitting in Nogales where they're only doing 1 load a day and there's 5 trucks? You know, there's a lot of different factors that come into play, and also when accepting jobs. You know, for us as a team, we typically don't like to do short runs, but if they've been keeping us busy, like say we did 3 loads this week and they all were about 1,500 miles each, then it's Friday and they got a little 200-mile load, that they need to get help. If they need help on, they need us to get it covered. I'll go ahead and do that 200-mile load, just because I know you can't just have all the good and not the bad. Now, if I've been doing 4 200-mile loads, if they call me with the 5th one, chances are I'm not going to take it. You know, we're a team. We want to run as a team, not running a bunch of solo runs all the time, but you got to take the good with the bad. You know, it's not all going to be 2,000-mile runs every run. So that's one thing to keep in mind when you're accepting jobs. But when negotiating, there's a lot of different things to play. You know, how many trucks are in that area? How many other options does he have for that load? Is it a hazmat load and you're the only hazmat driver in the area? There's been a couple times where we've burned ourselves on a run. I think last year we were delivering down to Miami. It was almost Thanksgiving, and they offered us a load picking up out of Miami. Well, I tried to play hardball with that one. It was going to Las Vegas. It would have been a really good run for us.
Good miles. Good miles,
but I tried to play a little bit of hardball with them, thinking I was the only truck down there in Miami that they didn't have any other options. So I was asking for a $300 bonus so we could have enough money to get us back down to LA after we dropped in Vegas, because chances are there wouldn't be any loads in Vegas after we dropped off there, during the holidays at least. Sometimes Vegas does all right. But so he said, okay, well, let me check with the managers and see if we can do that $300, and I'll call you back. Well, an hour goes by and we hadn't heard back from them, and they ended up finding another driver to do that run for no bonus. So we lost out on that run, and what really made it bad was that was our last run for like almost a week, you know.
5 days. We delivered in was it Miami or Orlando? I think it was Orlando.
No, it was Miami. It was down in Miami.
Because we deadheaded back up to Georgia from there. Yeah.
Right. We ended up deadheading all the way back up to Georgia.
Empty moving, not deadhead. We empty moved. I mean, it's kind of the same thing. But
so, and then we sat in Georgia for an entire
5
week.
days.
Yeah, that was so. Taking that Miami run and not playing hardball with them, you know, learning to pick when to play hardball and when not to. I still have trouble with that, even after 3 years of doing this. There's no exact science to it. You know, it's sometimes you play and you win, sometimes you play and you lose. You know, and that particular one, you know, it definitely made me think more in the future of what could happen if I don't take this run, or, you know. So there's times you can negotiate and times you can't. Down in Miami, that was the only load that we would have gotten out of there. Like Heather said, we deadheaded all the way up to Georgia because we wouldn't have gotten anything else. We should have took that Vegas run. We screwed ourselves trying to play hardball. But then on this, we're doing a run right now. It was 650 mile deadhead for 590 mile loaded. We were able to negotiate our full rate on the deadhead miles. So it basically turned out into a 1,100 mile run instead of just being paid a little bit of deadhead and then the loaded miles. So that kind of worked out for us. Now, a few things you can negotiate on is your deadhead. If there's a lot of deadhead involved, you can ask for more on deadhead. Another thing you can negotiate on is if it's a load picking up tomorrow and you're sitting around today, you can negotiate. For us, Panther pays, it's $75 of what they call a day layover. You can negotiate something like that. You can negotiate whether they'll reimburse tolls or not. If you're going to be taking a load to New York, you can request that they reimburse tolls. And I think tolls are probably the most lenient thing that they are willing to reimburse for. Bonuses probably going to be the hardest. Certain times you might want to negotiate a bonus is if there's a load going into Manhattan on Long Island. not a lot of drivers are going to want to do that run, so you're going to probably be able to negotiate a pretty decent bonus to be able to take that load above your normal contracted rate.
Another thing you can negotiate usually on, or you would want to negotiate on, is if they're trying to send you into an area, say for instance Seattle, Washington, they have a run, you know, chances are they're not going to have really anything coming out of Seattle. So there's a lot of times on a run like that, or Salt Lake City, you know, Denver, Colorado, those places, if they want us to do a run there, we're going to try to negotiate for them to pay us extra to empty move to a better area after we deliver. Like in Seattle, we've negotiated for them to pay us to get down to Northern California, Sacramento area. You know, you want to think about that, and that's usually something you can negotiate on. Now, keep in mind, not every single load you get, you're going to be able to negotiate anything on. There's loads that you may be able to, and there's loads you may not. So keep that in mind. Panther has customers, they're called their spotlight accounts. These are customers that they get a lot of business from. So they usually, they're not going to negotiate a lot on that with, because they're giving those customers a cheaper rate because they give them so much business. Now, on the other hand, it's a possibility you could, because it's a spotlight account, they have to get it covered. And if you're the only option, then yes, you may be able to negotiate some more money on that run. So keep that in mind. You know, we wanted to talk about negotiating because when we first started, we had no idea you could even negotiate. And I'm sure there may be some companies that you can't negotiate, or carriers that you just can't negotiate with at all. You know, this is the rate, do it for this, and that's it. So not every carrier you're going to be able to do that with. Here's the thing, the way we look at it, it doesn't hurt to ask. All they can say is no. You haven't lost anything, you know.
And then if the numbers don't make sense to your business,
you don't have to do the run.
Don't take the run, you know.
Right.
Don't let them pressure you into taking a run.
Right.
But always try to work with them, you know. Ask for a little bit extra money. Ask what can they do to help you get back to a better area, you know.
And another thing is, when, you know, there's been times where Jason's like, okay, well, we need $300 to do this run because of whatever. They can come back and say, well, I can't do that, but I can do $200. You know, so you may not get everything you're asking for, but you may still get a little extra, and you may get nothing. So bottom line is, you just got to know what you want to do that run for. So we just wanted to give you that info to kind of help you, and to let you know that you know, that is a possibility sometimes to do that. So I hope that helped give you a little bit more information and insight onto dealing with dispatchers, accepting loads, and kind of negotiating loads, what you can negotiate on. If you have any other questions of stuff that we didn't touch on, or anything like that, you know, always contact us. You can contact us email, Facebook, leave it down in the comments, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. Until next time.